And that's now admitted, by the way. You said that day one. That's now admitted.
Right. And this researcher is now stating that the feeling is that it was engineered to sell vaccines, and that's the there's the profit motive. The individual who created this actually has a financial interest in a company that manufactures a laboratory that manufactures the vaccine, or is trying to find the vaccine to manufacture for this particular strain and maybe future mutated strains. So it looks like this is a situation where there was a criminal intent here all along, and I'm surprised that the FBI, the RCMP, and other law enforcement agencies aren't looking at that, because now it was reported that over 1 million people are infected in the United States, and some 34,000 in New York City alone.
Yeah, that's USA Today and Reuters. Now, again, it's perfect. It's novel, so normal virologists look at it and get scared, but it's not that bad acting. So it's perfect to spread, create fear, but not actually kill a lot of people. Is that what they're planning, just to sell vaccines? Or is it cold-bloodedly designed, because I know they have these that mutate, to then become airborne, more airborne, and kill more people?
Well, I think all possibilities are on the table as far as this is concerned. It's just the amazing thing is how the media, hyped it when it was in Mexico, and what we had, about 70 people infected there. Now we have over 1 million in this country, and only 1,000 in Europe being reported. So it's clear that the United States is ground zero for this. We just had the first reported case in Nepal today. Family came back from the United States. If you look at all these countries that are experiencing infections, 9 times out of 10, the people have just traveled from the United States.
That's right. They're now saying the epicenter is either China or the United States, but you're saying China. That's a red herring. That would make sense because we're more healthy here, and so we're not dying of it. But Mexico is the perfect incubator, Mexico City, because they're so run down.
Well, and there's another interesting factor here, too. Back in early May, there was an individual who was traveling from the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg to take up a new job at the National Institutes of Health here in Bethesda, Maryland. This individual was a native of the Ivory Coast in Africa. Caught at the border, the North Dakota-Manitoba border, bringing in vials with Ebola virus genetic material and HIV genetic material.
Yeah, I saw that in the news. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? The guy was put in jail. He went to trial. The U.S. District Court, I believe it was in Fargo or maybe Grand Forks. I don't remember that, but the person was given a fine, a small fine, and the sentence was the 17 days in jail he had already served. So that's what he gets. That's what somebody gets for trying to bring virulent strains of Ebola, of all things, into the United States. You try to travel with some shampoo on a plane, you're probably gonna get a year in jail. But
well, we got Dr. Pianka. We got Dr. Pianka running around. Dr. Eric Pianka running around the countryside, saying he can't wait for airborne Ebola to kill 90% of us. Wayne Madsen, let's finish up with this and then get into the white supremacists in the U.S. government. That story you were telling about behind the scenes has now come out in mainstream news. Okay, let's go right back to Wayne Madsen. Wayne, anything else on this flu situation?
Yeah. I would just say that watch for this thing now, the mutations to be reported. We've got some initial reports from Brazil. The German scientists have looked at it. They're claiming it's undergoing mutation, rapid mutation. I would note that the day I talked about this virus mutating, I was on Russia Today. That was on at 12 noon Moscow time. The same day, Margaret Chan, a director of the World Health Organization, was in Moscow, and there was a news conference, and she was pointedly asked, "Is this virus mutating?" And she denied that it was. So we're not getting the straight scoop from the World Health Organization, even though they've declared this a level 6 pandemic, and certainly the Centers for Disease Control, which were for weeks saying that they were undercounting the number of infections in this country. Now we find out that over 1 million people are infected here. So there's a real problem with getting good information from these so-called public health, international and national public health organizations.
Well, Wayne, that was the question I wanted to ask you. 3 or 4 days into the panic, a city official I know, I'll just leave it at that, came to the office and brought the internal memorandum from a CDC meeting with state and city officials in San Antonio, where they didn't shut down some schools just north of San Antonio. And it said, we're telling the public we're at level 4. We're already at level 5. In 90 hours, 92 hours, or is it 96? Point is, 90 plus hours, we're really going to level 6, but no one's going to be told. And I went on air and posted, the document, and people didn't believe me. And then later it came out, we're at level 6. We've been under it a while. So it's almost like they're drilling for when there really is a level 6 someday. It's like they're saying it's a level 6 in name only for worldwide pandemic. But, I have that document, and the document says there have been many more deaths and many more illnesses. And I kept getting that chatter from other state and federal people I know. So is this like a fire drill, or is this the real deal?
Well, we don't know how this thing's going to mutate. As a matter of fact, the news today it's in the mainstream media anyway that this may mutate into a more virulent strain. So we may not have seen the worst yet. The worst may be coming, but certainly we haven't seen. The health minister of India criticized this country for not screening people leaving the United States because we are the point of infection for many of these countries now that are experiencing their first cases, whether it's one individual. In the case of Nepal, was a family of 3 traveled from New York back there. Same reports from many different countries around the world that the first cases are from the United States, but there seems to be no interest by our public health officials here to try to stop the spread of this overseas. We've got over 1 million cases, but we're seeing a huge spike today reported in England. Australia it's a very bad situation, Australia. And the worst case scenario is those countries that have no public health infrastructure. And now we have the first cases now being reported in sub-Saharan Africa, India, and Bangladesh. Can you imagine how many people live there and how easily that will be spread in a country like that?
Why secretly have a level 6 months ago and then announce it a few weeks ago? What's your angle on that, or any of the intel people any of the press people you talk to? What are they saying?
Well, you would think that this would be very transparent. A public health issue, why sit on information? That would be like sitting on weather reports. But the way they're dealing with this, we might as well be dealing with meetings at the Federal Reserve. A lot of this stuff is just being held very close. You would think you would want to inform the public about a pandemic, but we see information being withheld on a daily basis, and it makes no sense. And I have to think that there's some criminal predicate to all this, and it would be nice to see them investigate it. But I'm not holding my breath, because it would have been nice to see the FBI really investigate the anthrax attacks on the media in Congress, and they blame this poor Dr. Ivins, who was actually trying to find the perpetrator. They said, it was him after, of course, he committed. And
now it's coming out that his DNA at the mailbox doesn't match, and that he's basically innocent, and nobody wants to talk about how he died in the government mental institution. They just say he took his own life. Yeah, locked up in a mental institution when they secretly grabbed him. Wayne, I know you're a busy guy. I have to go in a meeting. Do 5 more minutes on the racist angle, if you can, on the other side of this quick break. Can you do that?
Sure.
Okay, great. WayneMadsenReport.com. That's WayneMadsenReport.com, linked up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. We'll also come out of the break and put it up on screen for PrisonPlanet.tv members. Stay with us. This is GCN. The term twittering around is kind of ruined now, because I would always use that term. He was twittering about, nittying. It's kind of a nittying chirping. But now Twitter, kind of like, instead of saying a search engine, you got to say Google. People want me to use the names of other systems and not plug Google, but that's now the universal term. I've got to use the semantical lexicon to communicate with people. Hannah Montana is on her Twitter account asking who I am, and then they say, Heidi's boyfriend, Spencer Pratt, is a big InfoWars fan, and post to his Twitter account. And then it's all these people talking about me. What's interesting about this is that when I go to Hollywood, literally, There aren't really any stars I've ever met or run into that aren't already fans of the show.